The boldest move came when the Giants and Buster Posey said, hey, let me show you something you haven't seen before. We're going to take one of the top head coaches in college who hasn't been in pro ball, and we're going to put him right in the big leagues. Tony Vitello, head coach of the University of Tennessee Volunteers, has now been named the new manager of the San Francisco Giants, which it's the boldest move, like just for what I just mentioned. It's never happened in Major League Baseball history. You've had guys that have then gone through the system of whether they, one, coached in the minors or coached on a staff, or if they didn't coach on a staff, they were a player and then they jumped into coaching. You know, we've seen that at times. Aaron Boone was an example. Stephen Vogt was an example. Kurt Suzuki, who was a special assistant, is an example. But again, all former players.
How do you think this plays out, Rick?
I think this is what happens. It's either going to be a trendsetter move, and we're going to see more of these things happen moving forward, or it's going to fall flat, and this idea is going to be gone.
That's a terrible answer. That's basically just saying it's going to be sunny outside or it's going to rain tomorrow. Tell me what you think is going to happen.
It's hard for me to say, because if you're making this investment in a head coach, and you're Buster Posey, you have to understand that 1 year to figure out if this works, unless it's a disaster, you're not going to get the full decision. Like, you have to commit to this groundbreaking move for more than 1 year. The problem is that the Giants, they were in that kind of, we hired Bob Melvin because we felt like we could compete. Mm-hmm. We felt like we couldn't. Actually, they were the team that was supposed to. You traded for Rafael Devers, and then they fell and tanked and sold at the deadline.
And that's why I'm asking, because like I agree with you. And so when I'm asking you these questions, it's more of a, what do you think happens if this doesn't go well? Do you think that, and I'm asking you as somebody who's obviously so involved in baseball and has seen everything, do you think that Buster Posey and this organization will have that patience, or is it going to be more of like a one and done kind of thing if it's an unsuccessful season?
You have to let this play out. Unless it's the worst season and an embarrassment, and you're looking at, I want to go around the leagues real quickly, like an Urban Meyer situation down in Jacksonville, where it got so toxic that you had to make a move because you're like, this is not a fit. Yeah. Like, this is a problem. Then Tony Vitello is going to have a grace period, because you're also going from coaching young adults to now grown-ass men, where now you're not managing where every 3-game series in the SEC on the weekend is you're trying to win that series by any means kind of necessary. In the big leagues, you can't do that. 162, you got to throw your guys out there. You got to manage the bullpen, and you got to be able to manage this team moving forward. Now, one thing that Tony Vitello, his strength is a culture, building a relationship. He's built up a great program at Tennessee, but the problem with it, college baseball is different than Major League Baseball. College baseball, you can have more small ball. You can have more of the, I don't want to say the energy is not the right word, but you watch how things are handled in college to the big leagues, and you guys know what I'm talking about. You know, and I know that.
So I'm with you on that. I think for this, I would measure the success of the Giants going to the playoffs next year. So do you think that with this managerial pick, them getting to the playoffs this year under this staff, do you think that would be a surprise to you, or do you think that would be, something that's more expected than anything else?
I don't think it would be a surprise if they make it, but I don't think it's a surprise if they fall flat. And mainly, it's not even for what he does as a manager. Like, that division's tough.
Yeah.
Minus the Rockies. Sorry, Colorado. Padres will be good next year. They should. The Diamondbacks should be good next year, or they should compete. They're losing some guys in free agency, but they should compete. The Dodgers are the Dodgers. They are going to compete. So it's a hard division to crack through. So ironically for me, the expectation with the roster of pieces that they have together, Brad, is that they can or could be able to go to the postseason. But unlike another position that I'll get to in a second, in Baltimore, the pressure for the manager coming in to be with the Orioles is you got to win right now.
Yep.
So I think that Tony Vitello, the pressure from being in a big market like San Francisco is they expect their team to be better, and they expect Giants baseball to be back. But it's not the end all if it's a rough year, because the Giants are right now, if we're going to look at this, Zach, what would you rate the Giants in that division? Third? Fourth?
Third.
They're third.
Third.
So if they're the third team right now in that division, that pressure's off. Unlike you go to Baltimore's case, where you're the Baltimore Orioles, and the Orioles might be the third team ranked in their division going into this season. But you know what the difference is? Is that the San Francisco Giants didn't have the most wins over the 2.5-year span prior to this. That was the Baltimore Orioles in the American League. The Baltimore Orioles were one of the top favorites in the American League to go to the World Series with almost the same nucleus. So Tony Vitello will have that grace in my mind. The next Orioles manager will not.
I also think that there's not a lot of pressure on Tony, to be honest. And that's weird to say, but I was reading stuff, and I actually agree with people on Twitter for the first time in a while. If he fails, he can name his college, and he'll go back, and because he took Tennessee from people did not know to people couldn't tell you anything about Tennessee baseball to a national champion and a perennial national championship contender. I've seen people talking about if he fails first year, every AD in the country is going to be calling his name saying, hey, dude, come back and build this program up. Joe, not to get ahead of myself, but I did see a lot of Arkansas people, I know he coached there, saying that's where he would go.
That's what my reaction was. It was more
it's like a Nick Saban.
This is a low risk, high reward for Tony.
Yeah, that's why I took a pay cut.
He took less money.
He's able to go to Major League Baseball. If he has success, boom, awesome. He's an MLB manager. He's one of the top guys, right into the sunset, all that. If he fails, he's 41, and you're telling me not every college program that needs to up there, in the SEC, they're calling him first time and going, Tony, come make it happen.
And that's exactly what happened when you looked at Nick Saban or even Urban Meyer. If Urban Meyer came back, if Urban Meyer right now wanted a head coaching job in college, I know that people were going to say how it ended in Jacksonville. Someone's going to hire him because what's happened, he wins. Nick Saban with the Dolphins, they weren't having a terrible year. It wasn't a great year with the Dolphins, but you know what? Nick was more comfortable back in college, and he was going to have all these opportunities. And Bama's like, hey, we want you. So
greatest college coach of all time.
So you're right. And that's the part of it too, is that the Giants, you're making a monumental move where the expectations are undefined because they don't know how you're going to be as a big league manager. So if you fail, okay, well, we could see that happening. But if you succeed, it opens up a whole new universe for how people are going to view college coaching. But I think what will happen in the process is people in the industry are going to wonder, well, what's my route to actually getting to be a big league manager?
I was just about to say this. So, and we can go off on a whole tangent with this. It is interesting to me that we see this happen in the NBA. We see this happen in the NFL. We see this happen in every other sport except for baseball. And it also makes me wonder, are we going to see kind of the value of the minor leagues diminish a little bit because of the what we're seeing in college baseball? College baseball is the most popular I think it's been probably ever.
Well, I think for coaching.
Yeah.
Maybe for coaching, but also I just don't know. Obviously you're going to, unless they change the rules, right? NFL, they're kind of working on this. NBA, you have to play 2 years of college. I almost wonder if we're starting to see a little bit of a shift as it relates to collegiate sports or baseball in particular and the MLB.
Well, and the one thing I'll say with college football coaches going straight to the NFL, I have to look at the success rate. And I don't think off the top of my head, the ones that come to my mind are Nick Saban, Urban Meyer.
Jim Harbaugh.
Jim Harbaugh might be the one right now where you're like, okay, he has success.
Pete Carroll.
Jimmy Johnson, Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
So, okay, so it's a mixed bag of results. So, okay, fair enough. But the baseball one, you're right, is that factor that we don't know.
It's just crazy to me that baseball's never done this before.
Mm-hmm.
When every other sport's kind of like, that's the normal thing.
Yeah. But I could see kind of what you're saying, Brad. I could see it changing if this works out for Tony and the Giants. It changes the way that people get into Major League Baseball coaching.
That's what I'm saying.
Because I think suddenly, it doesn't have to be, you have to be a former player. You have to be a bench coach. You have to work your way up from I'm coaching in single A to, kind of like what we see with Buck Britton, coaching throughout the minors, rising the ranks until he gets to, okay, now he's an assistant coach on the Orioles, and maybe he's promoted to bench coach, so he gets a chance to manage. Now it's, hey, you find a good niche at a college, you build that college up. Okay, you now go to a big college, you win a national championship, you can go take over, and I think that's really cool.
Well, because here's my thing, and you know this, Rip, you played professional baseball and in the minor leagues. Colleges are dumping money into sports, all sports. Yeah. Baseball has now come into that as far as the money dump's concerned. Mm-hmm. Major League Baseball doesn't really dump that kind of money into minor league baseball. So you almost kind of wonder if there's going to be this competing factor of like Major League Baseball is going to dump a ton of money into minor league ball to continue to develop their guys and attract guys into minor league ball, or is it going to be, oh no, we're dumping money into our athletes in college baseball, so you're going to have better athletes here in college baseball than you are, and just bringing guys up through the minors?
Yeah, I mean the minors of why we haven't seen college coaches, in my opinion, is because when we look at the NFL, the NBA, you go. Essentially, the NFL, if you get drafted, you're either in the league or you're not. Yeah. I mean, you can go play in, the XFL or the USFL or whatever the leagues are now.
Right.
You can go and play in those leagues, but it's either you're going to be in the NFL or you're not. In college basketball to the NBA, they added the G League, but one league, it's either you're in it or there's a handful of spots that are going to be in the G League. In baseball, there are the 0.1, or we will just say 1% to be fair, but it's even less than that. Like, it's even more minuscule. College players don't go college right to the bigs. Right. Now, there are some players that have done it in the history of the league, but that's why I'm saying it's not even 1%. It is well below 1% because there is so much evolution for a player from college to get to the bigs. There's so much of a game that has to be changed. So, like, I'll use an example. I think I told you guys this. I played with a couple guys that were the ACC Player of the Year, Big Ten Player of the Year in college. We're there for 3-4 years.
Is that Honeycutt?
Not Honeycutt, but Honeycutt's another example of he was a dude, first-round pick. He's had struggles. Yeah. And for whatever reasons, he's got talent. He's had struggles. So it's guys are being vetted through the minor leagues because there's more about that you have to learn how to be a better professional player. But at the end of the day, a manager's job is to win games. You got to learn how to win games in the bigs. You manage it in the minors, you're learning how to manage and deal with pro players. But the biggest concern with most organizations in the minors is about development, is that you don't care as much about winning. In college, big schools, you got to win. You don't win, your ass is gone.